ipatlela fela question paper like science bophelo ba hao be bo ba hantle. Right, o itse ke prepare finance akere jwale financing re tlo shebana le simple and compound depreciation. I think it is very important that we try to understand that. Many of the things that revolves around this shall be thoroughly dealt with. Now, I thought of bringing a phone on a charger. So that right, you wanna charge? Yeah, charge. Right. Re mo re ro ho wena as soon as a new car leaves the dealership. These are just the notes. Its value depreciates, decreases. Its value decreases, and it is considered second hand. Right, I will try to explain this finance well. Right, remember I'm going to simple and compound depreciation. So meaning something up an item loses value over a certain period amount of time. So we are saying to you, if you go to any store, you go to any dealership, as soon as you buy a new car at any dealership, immediately when it leaves that place, it does what now? It decreases, it depreciates in value. Immediately, since I calculated the depreciation value of that car, immediately when it leaves the premises of that dealership. This is what we are saying. For example, we are saying to you that vehicles, equipment, machinery, and other similar items. And other similar assets. Say accounting. And other similar assets all lose value. They all lose value over time. How feeling now of my cut box? I think to lose value over time. And this is caused as a result of usage. I give it a lamont. Giving how and age. Scanner na haki feel ota fela manis. Eka go fela le Ferrari that it could about something million, about 4.7, about 5.6 meter. If fela could 2 over time. Utloblela ukuthi kuluyina eshule body shock. Kuluyina ayisana ma break. When on to how fail. Ipoloke over what now? Ipoloke as a result of usage and your age. It is very important. We should have included human beings more in these examples. Vehicles, equipment, machinery, and other similar assets, and human beings included, all lose value over time as a result of usage and age. This is highly important. Very, very important. And then it is this loss. It is this loss in value. This loss in value depreciation. So when I define the term depreciation, you are saying that any asset which is being used over time, bought from whatever dealership, tends to lose value over time as a result of usage and age. That is depreciation. Whether you like it or not, you will start as a toddler, baby, toddler, until you become an adult or a grandparent, then you become a deceased person. You become bones, whether you like it or not. These are the cycles of life. Because of usage, you are using the body as you are making movement every now and then, physically and spiritually so, and you are aging in that process. You will depreciate whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. Right, we are saying that depreciation. We are saying that depreciation. We are saying that depreciation is used to calculate the value. We are using depreciation to calculate the value of a company's assets. Of a company's assets, which determines how much tax a company must pay. Now, depreciation is used to calculate the value of a company's assets, which determines how much tax a company must pay. So come on, dependent on how long the number of assets that a company has will ultimately determine how much of tax the company must pay. So come on, Jama, the more assets the company has, the more of what now? The more of tax they will have to pay. Come on, Jama, the more as those assets leaves the company, the lesser the tax that they will be able to pay. So come on, if a company wants to make money, it must sell as many as possible. Utu company e rekisang ya hola, again company e dulang ya itang yawa, because there will be more tax to pay on those assets. So it is the duty of whatever responsible in that company to ensure that marketing strategy was strong, so that at the end of the day, we are making money by doing what now? By selling those assets, so that we do what? We do not pay more tax to the government. Aye, Jesus, more tax. Right. We are saying that companies can take, these companies can take depreciation. They can take depreciation into account as an expense. So, companies can take depreciation into account as an expense. And thereby reduce their taxable. Reduce their taxable income. How is that great? If you know it's a math lead, recalculate the taxable income based on the age of a particular individual and a percentage that is allocated to that person. These are the calculations that we are dealing with. More mathematical literacy. I have lectures where in grade 12 I have dealt a little bit deeper into this. So what are we saying here? We are saying that companies can take depreciation into account, buying it as a what? As an expense, and thereby reduce their taxable income. So come on, Jama, if the companies takes depreciation into account, as an expense, that would be able to allow them to reduce their taxable income because of those assets which they will have to sell over a certain period of time. Right, we are saying that a low taxable income means a low taxable income means that the company, it means that the company will pay less income tax to SARS. Some of the advices that you should give to your parents, those that owns the companies, those that have a lot of money coming into their businesses, they should know that a low taxable income means that the company will pay less income tax to SARS. Very, very, very important. A low taxable income. Depreciation is used to calculate the value of a company's assets. We are using depreciation, which determines how much tax a company must pay. Companies can take depreciation into account as an expense and thereby reduce their taxable income. A low taxable income means that the company will pay less income tax to SARS. This is what we are saying. Right, and then we are saying that we can calculate there are two different kinds of depreciation. We can calculate two different kinds of depreciation. Simple decay and compound decay. These are the two different kinds of depreciation. Simple decay and compound decay. Decay is also a term. The term decay is also a term used to describe. It is a term that is used to describe a reduction. It is used to describe a reduction or a decline. Let's say a reduction or a decline in value. So come on, the value of an asset decreases, it declines, it does what now? It is reduced. Decay is also a term used to describe a reduction or a decline in value. That is why our chemistry renale a decay. The decay of a particular atom of interest. Into chemistry part. I think the decay of uranium and so on over a certain period of time, and many of the things that revolves around that. But remember that decay deals with what now? The reduction or a decline in value. This is very, very important that we understand that. Now we are saying that simple decay, a reduction in a straight line method, which is a simple decay, a simple decay is also a straight line. Is also a straight line. Is also a straight line depreciation. Different. Simple decay, we also call that a straight line depreciation. And compound decay It can also be referred. It can be referred to as a reducing. It can also be referred to as a reducing depreciation. So having different interest rate for different number of years. But the straight line, that simply means the interest rate remains the same for that period of 5 years, for example, but compound decay, the interest rate keeps on accumulating with a certain amount every year. So we are saying that we can calculate two different kinds of depreciation. The first one being the simple decay, the second one being the compound decay. That's exactly what we will be focusing on. And therefore we are saying that decay is also a form, a term used to describe a reduction or decline in value. So when we say something has decayed, is decaying, we are simply meaning that it is being reduced in value, it is losing value, it is declining in its value over a period of time for a particular interest value. Now, simple decay is also a straight line depreciation, and compound decay can also be referred to as a reducing depreciation. Now, remember the distinction here. Simple decay, the interest rate is the same for a particular period of time, but compound depreciation, the interest rate keeps on accumulating over an increase in years. So the interest for first year will not be the same for the consecutive number of years. But the problem solving will make it a little bit clearer as to what I'm trying to explain. Right. Let us read the last theory in this. This is very important. Why is it important? It's because it go to understand na re bua ka eng. Kopa fela this is very, very important. If this theory was not important, we couldn't be getting deeper into this. It is highly important that we focus into this. Right. In the straight line method, here, in the straight line method, in what? In simple decay, repeat a straight line method. In the straight line method, the value of the asset the value of the asset is reduced by a constant amount. It's reduced by a constant amount. It's being reduced by a constant amount each year. So the value of the interest rate does not change. In a straight line method, the value of the asset is reduced by a constant amount each year. That is what we are saying, and mainly when we check the interest rate, it plays a significant role in this straight line reducing method. Right, which is calculated on the principal amount. Which is calculated on the principal amount. This is what now? This is the initial amount. This is the minimum amount of value of the asset. Again, it is calculated on the principal amount. The original amount of value of that particular asset. In reducing balance depreciation, we calculate the depreciation on the reducing value. We calculate the depreciation. We calculate the depreciation on the reducing value. On the reducing value of the asset. Right. This means that the value of the asset decreases by a different amount each year because of the percentage increase that is being added on that particular year, because the interest will not be the same for first year, second year, and third year. Hence, doing what now? Giving us a different value of the asset for a different number of a year. So we are saying that this means that the value of the asset decreases. It decreases by a different amount each year. This is very, very important that we understand the theory behind simple and compound depreciation. This is an important, significant theory that you should understand. Long before we can attempt to solve any problems, it is highly important that you understand the theory. Very, very important that you familiarize yourself with the theoretical perspective of that which we are revolving around. Right, therefore, total depreciation. The total depreciation is equals to P, which is the principal amount, the minimum amount in which the item is sold. We are multiplying that by the interest rate. We are also multiplying that by the number of years. And therefore, that will give you the total depreciation. Or 70,000, camera 5 years, in that depreciation, remember, can be a straight line depreciation, can be a compound depreciation, where the interest rate is different for every year. In terms of a compound, the interest rate is the same for a straight line depreciation. My father. Now, get in P. P is the principal amount, the minimum amount at which this car is sold. This is the principal amount, P. And then your I in, get the interest rate written as a decimal. This is the interest rate as a decimal. What's in the fraction? It doesn't matter as long as your answer is correct. And then the period. The period, time period in a year. This is the time period in years. Simple. In years. I'm just trying to explain the right hand side of the equation, or those alphabets. Right. We are therefore saying that the depreciated value of the asset, also called the book value, can be calculated using the following formula. We are saying more weight. We are saying more weight. Therefore, the depreciated value of the asset also called the book value. That depreciated value, we call that the book value. So calculate the book value of an item after a certain period of time. That depreciation. Whether very specific, straight line, reducing balance method. So this is also called the book value. The previous question paper, it will become very clear. But also use the terminology so that we understand it thoroughly. It can be calculated. As follows. We can say that A equals P into 1 minus IN. K straight line depreciation. This is what we call the straight line depreciation. This one. Right. We should note the similarity to the simple interest formula. This is highly similar to the following. We are saying that we should note the following. The following. Highly quarter to 3. We are saying where you should note the similarities. You should note the similarities to the simple interest formula. Yani airing A equals P into 1 plus IN. Now what is the similarity? You have A equals P open bracket 1 minus IN inner error 1 plus IN. So mona is simple interest. Yani ki reducing balance method. Kapa reducing balance depreciation. Mona an item loses value over time. Mona an item accumulate value. The value of an item is increasing, but on a straight line method. So this is the similarity that they are trying to tell us about, right? So Mona, we are saying that the interest increases the value of the principal amount. Mona, we are saying that interest it increases the value of the principal amount. The value of the principal. Hey, it increases the value of them. Again, Mona, you are investing a certain amount of money over a period of time at a particular interest. You are going to increase the principal amount because you have future value much higher than the value of P. Manueta, you are decreasing what now? The principal amount of an item, because after maybe 4 years, the value of the P has decreased because of what? Because of the reducing balance method. So money, one decreases in value, it depreciates, it decays. Mona, it accumulates value. Because mama hanga 20,000, I will invest a banking for 5 years. No makanjani, itokuka ile accumulated in value. That is why what we invest banking is similar to 1. Right. How to let me? The interest increases the value of the principal amount. Whereas with simple decay, depreciation reduces. Depreciation reduces what? The value of the principal amount. Value of the principal amount. I sketch because of the formula A equals P into 1 minus IN on a reducing, on a straight line depreciation. So the value of P is being decreased more. Right. It is very important that we understand that. Highly important that we understand that. Now let us try to go to the questions now and see exactly how we can make sense of this information that we have been speaking about, and then how do we apply this in calculations so that at the end of the day we understand the issue around this. So we are the problem so that we thoroughly check whether we have understood the concept or not. Calculation in here. I think I've said quite a mouthful for the day, and I believe and hope that you have understood, because as I write, I try by all means to make examples and explain exactly what is happening here. Now, I can share this simple and compound depreciation. Suppose, example here, Mr. Samuel. Mr. Samuel buys an Opel Fiesta. I wish for an amount of 72,000. Ay Jesus. And then he expects, Mr. Samuel buys an Opel Fiesta for 72,000, and he expects that the value of the car will depreciate. He expects the value of the car to depreciate by what? By 6,000 every year. This is what I'm expecting. Now, he draws up a table to calculate the depreciated value of his Opel Fiesta. He draws up a table to calculate the depreciated value of his Opel Fiesta. All right. Complete Mr. Samuel's table over table of values for the 7-year period. Complete Mr. Samuel's table of values for 7 years period. So how are we going to complete that table? That is the question. How are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? Mr. Samuel buys an Opel Fiesta for 72,000. He expects the value of the car will depreciate by 6,000 every year. Come on, the amount I change. Every year it depreciates by 6,000. Come on, this is a straight line depreciation, because only in a straight line depreciation the amount at which an item depreciates remains the same. So come on, we already know the formula that we need to employ. Now, having a table, number of years, the value of a car at the beginning at the beginning of the year. The depreciated amount, the depreciation amount. The value of the item at the end of each year. Right, it's table right. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, and then year 7. Now, remember the value of the car at the beginning of the year. It can be 72,000. What was the depreciated amount? We say he expect to depreciate by 6,000. Okay? And then about the value of the car at the end of each year. We can calculate using a simple interest formula. And I got how I so be it. Even now, Mrs. That can I go how? Oto can I go on a catering? I get the Havana feed. How about your gun? Maukanach, another assembly. Right. So this is a formula fee. A onga value P is 72,000. I get over 72,000 open bracket or a 1 minus. Now, what was the interest rate? Interest rate usually. We were never told. He draws up a table to calculate the depreciated value of his Opel cost. We say depreciated by 6,000. So you can't use this formula. Why? Because I want our interest rate. What you should do, because it depreciates by the same amount every year. 72,000 minus 6,000. Then the value. We can never use that formula because I is not given. But we were told that it depreciates by 6,000 every year. You forgot. You pay 66,000. Jesus, my father. Now for the second year, secondly 66,000. 66,000 here, it depreciates by the same amount. Yes, 6,000. Remember we say he expects the value of the car will depreciate by 6,000 every year. Okay? So, 66,000 minus 6,000. You guy 60,000. Serenga that 60,000. 60,000 minus 6,000. 54,000. Serenga that 54,000. Minus 6,000. 48,000. Serenga that 48,000. Minus 6,000. 42,000. Serenga that 42,000. Minus 6,000. Serenga that 36,000. Minus 6,000. Serfa 30,000. Mr. Samuel buys an Opel Fiesta for 72,000. He expects that the value of the car will depreciate by 6,000 every year in the total 6,000. Right? He draws up a table to calculate the depreciated value of his Opel Corsa. Complete Mr. Samuel's table of values for 7-year period. Here, right. Number 2. His son, Ellen Paul, does not agree that the value of the car will be reduced by the same amount each year. Paul thinks that the car will depreciate by 10% every year. Ona sebedisa straight line. Ngwana ena wa tla sebedisa compound decay because every year it accumulates by 10%. Every year, until add 10% on the original value. Now, how do I that table? Because by all means, because in native I have no choice. His son. His son, Ellen Paul. This is the name of my first son. Does not agree. He does not agree that the value of the car will be reduced. He does not agree that the value of the car will be reduced by the same amount each year. Paul thinks that he thinks that the car will depreciate by 10% each year. Okay, complete Paul's table of values. Complete Paul's table of values. Right. Go. You. Renali yeah. Renali value at the beginning. Renali depreciation amount. Renali value at the end. Of the year. Right. The amount for first year. In 72,000 at the beginning. The depreciated amount, 10% there that value. What is the depreciated? What is 10% there? 72,000.
So you said
10% multiplied by 72,000. Kapa hariemu ikale pele jwala. But uho uri